count on him. He is
Count
here
on him.
today, Tuesday.
And those were beautiful commercials you ran over the 4th of July weekend.
Well,
thank you for those, Karl Truman.
Well, you're welcome. Yeah, I really enjoyed doing that.
As a former member of the military yourself, and thank you for your service, we appreciate the fact that you were highlighting the patriotism of the 4th of July and honoring our servicemen and women abroad and at home here.
And we have to remember that even though we're safe and comfortable here, we still have a lot of people in harm's way, and we have to remember that.
Absolutely. We also have people in harm's way for personal injury, which is why Karl is an expert at personal injury law, and that we can't say expert, or can we say expert?
The advertising rules say that a lawyer is not allowed to use the word expert. You know, we can talk about what our practice areas and what we're limited to, but they don't like the bar rules say we can't call ourselves an expert.
Well, I'm not a lawyer, and I think you are, so
Well,
there.
I appreciate it.
So there. Anyway, Karl Truman
Many
does
practice areas.
in a lot of areas. Medical malpractice, motor vehicle accidents, personal injury law, Social Security law, workers' compensation, lots and lots of areas that people require help in.
That's very true. Karl, I have one question
Go
myself.
for it.
It's July, but kids are getting ready to go away to school for colleges, that kind of thing. Now, with motor vehicle accidents, what kind of things are you going to be telling parents that might have questions about what their kids should take with them in case they have an accident or that kind of thing?
Well, one of the things talking about driving cars, I just recently met with another client, and I seem to hear stories like this a lot. They were in a very severe crash, and there was no insurance.
Oh man.
And so I'm keep repeating to everyone, look at your insurance. Make sure you have insurance and uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage, because the person that hits you, even if you're a safe driver and you're a good driver,
yes,
but the other person on the road may not be, and they may not have any insurance. So if you don't have uninsured and underinsured coverage, you're not looking out for yourself.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's a good point, Karl.
So that brings up a question for you then. I have recently been given an aged station wagon to use as a puppy mobile. Now, do I need to carry the same insurance on that car as I do on my regular car if it's just going to go back and forth to the dog park twice a day?
Well, what happens when you're a block away from home and somebody runs that stop sign and hits you and they don't have any insurance and you're hurt really bad?
Good point.
Now, what you may not need is what's called collision coverage.
Okay.
Collision coverage would be, if you damage your car and you need to replace your car, or your car is wrecked or totaled.
Yes.
That's what would pay to get your car fixed. So that's something that you would have to talk to your insurance agent, excuse me, your insurance agent about, is weighing the cost. Well, is this car worth the cost of carrying that coverage?
Okay.
But that's different than protecting yourself from a bodily injury.
Yeah, it's the precious cargo inside the car that really matters, right?
Absolutely.
You and your dogs.
Yes, the 3 puppies, absolutely. So talk to us a little bit about 4th of July. What have you gotten already on the calls, on the machine, at the office about injuries by sparklers and other fireworks? Because there were a lot of fireworks going on.
There were. Well, it may have been very safe so far. So far today, we've not seen a whole lot of calls as far as fireworks.
Amazing.
Well, good. We have a mailbag that they knew you were going to be on today.
Somebody had a problem.
This is from Ben. Ben had a little trouble over the 4th of July. He says, I was at a party for the 4th of July and got burned from a firework. That's pretty severe. I feel bad about pursuing any action against the people whose house it is because they are my wife's friends. But what are my options?
Seems like insurance companies always ask you, where did this happen?
Where were you?
Well, of course, there was not enough information in that email to really know, was it some neglect? Is it something that Ben did? Was he not looking out for himself? Or was somebody else not paying attention? Or what kind of fireworks were there? So there's a lot of questions. When someone calls and asks me about a situation, generally I have a lot of follow-up questions to know what the situation was and what happened, because most situations are not just easy to answer, over the phone, or, meeting someone on the street and they say, well, what about this?
Yes.
And so it takes more time to really follow up and get full information. So, if I were to talk to Ben, I would want to know a little bit more about what happened, what were the fireworks, what were they doing, was there alcohol involved?
Exactly.
Was there alcohol involved even with the host or with Ben himself?
Yes.
There's a lot of questions that we would want to follow up with.
Absolutely. And when you are dealing with those kinds of questions, you really need to go to somebody who practices personal injury law as
Right.
opposed to just what? There are lawyers out there who say, oh, I can handle anything. But hasn't it become a much more compartmentalized practice of law, Karl?
Well, yes, and that's a very good point that you bring up is because we just were talking about how a lawyer cannot refer to themselves as an expert.
Right.
The other word that we really are not allowed to use is a specialist.
Aha.
However, there is an exception to that.
Yes.
I'm actually board certified as a civil trial specialist.
Okay.
And what that means is that I've had to go through extra screening, whether I've had, it's called the National Board of Trial Advocacy.
Yes.
You can Google that, NBTA. And they go through a rigorous certification process where you have actually had to try a certain number of cases, done a certain number of depositions. You have to submit a trial brief that you've used in court.
Yes.
You have to have recommendations from other lawyers and judges, and actually sit for a day-long written examination which focuses just on civil trial procedure,
Wow.
rules of evidence, ethics rules, and sit through that for, it's almost like another bar
I was going
examination.
to say, going through the bar
and go
exam
through.
again.
It really is. Is it required for an attorney to practice in civil trial? Certainly not, but I think that it shows that extra level of commitment and
Absolutely.
dedication and to go through that rigorous certification process, which is, so I'm allowed to call myself a civil trial specialist
Yes.
because I
Fantastic.
did go through the certification process.
If you have questions, you can get in touch with Karl at his brand new telephone number, which is 222-2222.
Super easy.
Easy to
Karl.
remember.
That's right.
TrumanLaw.com is the website. You can find out all kinds of information about your questions, personal injury, law practice, everything that Karl does, plus all the great charitable things that
That's
Karl
right.
does.
And there's a question and answer section on there if you weren't able to get through the phone lines today, or send us an email. Karl,
Great.
thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you for being
We'll
with us.
see you
We'll see you
next
next week.
That's right.
Karl Truman, count on the Colonel.